My friends, you know when I pull over that it's going to be a serious video. So I got to share this with you. Something that you guys probably already know. Our system, our government, our legal system, our political system is completely jacked. Completely jacked. So I just left court. Okay? Why was I in court? I'm a law-abiding fella. Well, apparently I'm not anymore. A couple weeks ago, the cops came to my house and I wasn't home. And the cops came to my house because my neighbors called the police and said my dogs were barking and were annoying them. Well, in the fall, the deer come out of the mountain. When it starts snowing, the deer come out of the mountain. And my dogs bark. The deer in my yard 5 times a day. There's deer shit everywhere. And my dogs, when they're outside, they bark at the deer. Most dogs would do the same damn thing. Whatever. So, the police come to my house while I'm not there. My dogs are in the backyard in their fenced off area and their little domain and the whole thing. Well, guess what happens when somebody comes into my backyard? The dogs bark at the people in the backyard. One of them does. The other ones are like, yeah, we don't really care. We'd rather just hump your leg or whatever. Anywho, so the dogs bark. The police are there, and the police come back a couple days later and say, we witnessed your dogs barking out of control, whatever. Here's a citation. Here's a ticket for you to go to court because your dogs are a nuisance. Now, here's the thing. My ex-wife, for instance, she hates animals. Okay? Like, we had fish, and it was like, fish. Like, if she even looks at a dog, or a dog goes, yeah, it's gross. Where, you know, for her, anything's a nuisance, really. Like with a dog. Where if I love dogs, I love animals, whatever. So, what is a nuisance animal? What's a nuisance animal? Well, technically, according to the code here where I live, it's a dog that barks for more than 12 minutes. Well, the police came into my yard, stood there for 12 minutes while my dogs barked. Guess what? I have a nuisance animal. So I went to court. Here's the interesting thing. This is where shit gets really, really interesting. I'm sitting there in this courtroom with like 50 other people, right? There's a prosecutor. There's the whole thing. There's people in there that are there for like cocaine possession, for DUIs, for battery, for fighting, for shoplifting, for robbery, like all kinds of crazy shit. I'm the dog guy. I'm the guy there with my dogs, right? So the prosecutor, Sean Whalen, we step outside and he's kind of smiling. He's like, you're in here for nuisance animals. And I'm like, yeah, I don't even know what that is. And he's like, well, I got some dogs and they like to bark and whatever. I'm like, tell me something I don't know, brother. So anyways, I end up pleading my deal. They end up going to what I was breaking the law on, which was I have 3 dogs. And apparently in the city that I live in, you're only allowed to have 2 dogs. I didn't know this. Let's be honest. I don't check the laws of the city down to the finite things of like whatever, all of this other stuff. I was breaking the law. I had 3 dogs. You're only supposed to have 2 dogs. I was like, I'll plead guilty to that, but the other stuff's bullshit, and I will plead not guilty, and I will take this bitch to court. We will sit in front of a jury. If push comes to shove, and he's like, I completely agree with you. I think it's ridiculous. So they dropped those charges. Here's the interesting thing. Here's the really, really interesting, the thing that boggles my mind. Having 3 dogs instead of 2 is a Class B misdemeanor. Okay, Class B misdemeanor is a DUI. A Class B misdemeanor is shoplifting. Dogs. I'm not the dog dude. I'm not the cat lady. I'm not the one with like 87 cats that you see on the news and all of a sudden you show up and the parrots are flying out and I got crazy exotic animals in my basement hidden and giraffes in my garage and shit like that. I had 1 extra dog than I was allowed. So, I end up getting put on probation. I pay a $50 fine. The guy's like, it's $150. I was like, how about I pay you $50? He's like, fair. Deal. I pay him the $50 fine. I get put on probation for this shit. And then to make matters worse, I have to get rid of one of my dogs, which I told the prosecutor, I said, homeboy, you better come over to my house and you better have a chat with my daughter because you don't understand how this is going to go down. I would literally rather move out of this city than have to tell my daughter that we got to get rid of one of our dogs. But I got to get rid of one of my dogs. Here's my thought process, friends. Our system is completely jacked. I mean, we literally, in 2013, there were 40,000 new laws put on the books for the federal government. 40,000. It's not bullshit. Look it up. Google it. 40,000 new laws and ordinances passed in this country by our Congress, by our Senate. by the politicians. 40 freaking thousand. That's in addition to the shit that's already on the books. We have a tax code that's 13,000 pages long. 13,000 pages. I bet you 98% of the tax advisors, accountants, CPAs in this country don't even know what the hell half of that stuff is. 98% of that stuff is. I bet you the congressmen and senators who passed it, who wrote it, don't even know what half the shit is. I'm getting put on probation for dogs, for having one extra dog. My friends, it's not, look, I broke the law. Apparently I broke the law in the city that I live in. That's why I pled guilty to it. I paid the $50 fine. Not a problem. I'm a law-abiding guy. If I err and I go wrong, I will make it right. Here's my point. There are so many fucking laws being written. There is so much bullshit swirling around in this country. So many people like just enacting the congressmen and senators and city councils and mayors that are just like, what are we doing? Like literally, what are we doing? Think through this for a second. The laws and the stuff and the burdens that are being put on the people, the tax codes and the tax things and this and that, just being completely suppressed. I don't like to live that way. Plain and simple. I didn't want to be a defiant cuss at court this morning. Why? Because I didn't want to go to jail. And I didn't want to have to end up paying like a $5,000 fine when I did end up going to jail because I cussed out the judge or something like that. So I bit my tongue. But here's my point. This isn't good. This can't last forever. This cannot last forever. You look through the channels of history of our country, of the world. What happens when you have a government or a system that becomes oppressive and suppressive towards people? What happens? The people revolt. It's like a fact of history. Like every single society on the planet since Adam and Eve have done it. The question is, when's that going to happen in America? Because I'm telling you, mark my words, friends. Mark my words. It's going to happen. It is going to happen. And eventually people are not going to take the shit anymore, and they're going to start fighting back. I'm frustrated this morning. It is what it is. I dealt with the law. I did what I needed to do. Feel good about it. Whatever. I got to get rid of one of my dogs. Honestly, I'm honestly thinking about moving. I'm being completely serious. I'm thinking about moving. But then part of me is like, well, why would you run from that? Like, why would you? That's like kind of running away from it. Whatever. Anyways, I'm all over the place. My point is this. Pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on around you, because before you know it, you end up getting put on probation. Probation for having an extra dog in your house. Probation. Like when you come out of jail, you get put on probation. When you do drugs, when you're like dealing shit and all create for probation for a dog. My friends, America is the greatest land on the planet. It's the freest land on the planet. It's amazing. It's wonderful. But I'm telling you, mark my words, a revolution is coming. A revolution is coming. My friends, make it an absolutely epic day, and God bless America.